Hello again. We're glad to have another opportunity to speak with you here about our goals in dealing with homelessness. And today's video, we're going to try to get our minds around homelessness a little bit more. You know, I think a lot of Middle America have a little bit of a simplistic view about homelessness, and it's not because we're necessarily simpletons. That's not why. It's just that a lot of times with a big problem, you really want to try to break it down into some smaller components a little bit so that you can analyze the pieces and understand more how things fit together and have come to a much deeper understanding of the issue. And I think that maybe a lot of people have not had the opportunity really to do that regarding this matter. So let's just attempt to do that now. And we don't want to make this too complicated, so let's just break it down into maybe 4 little subsections. We'll talk about personal issues. We'll talk about social matters, problem with authority, and then we'll talk about really where the rubber hits the road, right? The professional life, the issue with professionalism. And these are things that affect homeless people, and actually they affect all of us. We should all be able to relate, to these things. And so let's just look at how they all work together. And it's really, because they do. It's really not just a simple one-by-one concern that we're looking at here. Really, they do all operate together in our lives, but we do have to look at them in sort of reductionist manner, right, to sort of get our minds around them. But let's look first at how our personal poise affects us relative to our success in society. If we have an undue personal problem, something that's major, I mean, we all have personal issues, but something major, you can think of maybe medical issues, whether it's physical or mental or emotional problem medically, that can really cause us to have a lot of difficulty sometimes functioning socially in groups. Alcohol dependency or drug abuse, that plays havoc with our social abilities to have friends and relationships and families, and jobs. You can think too of something more benign, like I know a fellow that really he stays up until maybe 3 in the morning, just playing video games all the time, and then he has to try to be at work by 7 o'clock. Well, is it any wonder that his professional life is suffering from that? It's a personal problem that is inhibiting his ability to function within a group, and that's really what we're talking about here. And so the first thing that a person has to look at is just their social or their personal scenario. And I think, again, like I said, we all have personal issues, but most of us don't have them to the degree that they just kind of pull the rug out from under us in other areas. Okay, so now let's just talk a little bit socially, because if we're not able to fit in comfortably in a social group, we're going to run into authorities. Whether it's at church with a pastor, or whether it's at work with a supervisor, or maybe at school with a teacher, or with the police, right? I mean, there are authorities over society, over groups, over social groups. And these authorities are sort of charged with the task of maintaining enough peacefulness, enough productivity within that group, so that they can carry on without being too disturbed. And if an individual will come in and disturb that group, then the authority will step in and try to correct the situation. If they can't, of course, they will mitigate the influence of the individual. Remove the influence or insulate the group from the influence in some way. If that happens in a work setting, if you're at work and your boss now, the authority in that group is reducing your influence, he's also reducing your income. It's kind of how that works. So we can see that people with social problems also often have authority issues, and that could even just be to the point of just having your driver's license suspended, and you can see how that would affect a person's, professionally, potentially. So you see how these issues are sort of nested within each other. I mean, you have personal issues, social issues, authority issues, and professional issues. How they kind of They kind of go hand in hand. And now are obviously, at this point we want to talk actually about homelessness for a moment, just specifically, because if a person is not able to function very well professionally, then they have to go out and basically scrap together their capital. And when it comes to just, for example, a meal, $5 or $10, it's not too difficult to pull together enough funds to enjoy a meal, or a pack of cigarettes, or a six-pack. You can kind of scrap that money together, even if there's no profession behind you. When it comes to a car, maybe, well, a car is a couple $100 a month for a car payment. Even that a person could sort of gather the money. They have 30 days, right, to make the payment, so they could even scrap just tooth and nail the money for a car payment. But when it comes to rent money, we're talking $600, $800, $1,200 a month here, and it's really difficult to scrap that together within 30 days. And so it's necessary for this level of a commitment, of a responsibility, to be able to take and hold oneself in a revenue stream, to put oneself in there and then hold oneself in there. And this is what we're talking about. Some of our members of our society are not at this time capable of actually doing that because of some of these other issues that they have. And so just to go back to our, we were talking about just looking at homelessness as a big lump and not really understanding the nuts and bolts of it. This discussion has been really kind of crude, and but I'm hoping that it's at least given some background for thought to you. And at the same time, though, I have to admit to you that I do know people that are very effective in business, very professionally advanced, and yet socially they're kind of Neanderthals. And some people that are very wealthy that have terrible family lives, they just don't function very well personally on a personal level. And on the other hand, I know people that are very poor, very, very poor, but they're very noble in other areas of their life. And so you can't really take the human condition and reduce it to an equation of any kind. but by viewing matters sort of stacked like that, at least we can get some insight and have the pieces that we can, so that we can look at individual scenarios and understand them better. Of course, with understanding, because we have more options. We could either stop there with just what we understand, or we could move forward with that understanding and do something with it. And I don't know what that would be on an individual basis, but with understanding, we're empowered to probably use wisdom. And so sometimes we can do that in a way that helps others. And so I wanted to just go over that material with you there, and hopefully you benefited from it, enjoyed it, and I would encourage you to take a look at some of the future videos that we have coming out as well, some of the further ones. And I look forward to seeing you again, and thank you for your attention. Thank you.